That's good. We are on live. I think the audience will start joining us very soon. Because it takes time,
Yeah.
It takes time for the audience. Anyway, how is weather in Kristianstad now?
We're doing fine, thank you. So it's quite busy, as you know, this time of the year. When it comes to the weather, we hope for some snow, so it makes us feel a bit more like December and Christmas. But let's see what happens in the next coming weeks.
Okay. That's good. So yes, I can see that like audience has started joining us. Audience has started joining us slowly. I think there will be more audience who will be joining us actually. So that's good. And yeah, like actually like November, December, I really like here, like especially in Sweden, like they do lots of decorations for Christmas.
Yeah.
So how is preparation going on in Kristianstad?
Well, in Kristianstad, and perhaps at the campus that you can see in my background, we have actually last week they arranged for a Christmas tree. Every year, they put the Christmas tree in the center of the campus with lights on it and some decorations within the houses and so on. So it has begun. The autumn is quite dark when it comes to the weather and so on, and not so much sun, so it's a welcome thing that they put some lights on the campus and in the windows and so on.
Exactly. It's really fantastic. All right, so we can see that like we have few audiences already who have joined with us. So dear audiences, those you have joined with us, thanks for joining. So today we do have a special guest with us, Mr. Björn Malin from Kristianstad University, Sweden. So today we'll be talking about, of course, study in Sweden, and especially about Kristianstad University's programs, scholarships, accommodations, other facilities, and so on. So he's with us, and so whatever you do have a questions, please feel free to ask him. He will be happy to assist you. And so, Björn, please introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you, my friend. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for the cooperation that we've had, and we had it for a couple of years. I'm very thankful for that. JRK Internet Educational Consultants is a partner that we have for, I don't know, many years.
Quite for a long year, actually.
For many years, and we're thankful for that.
Years.
So thanks for having me, and thanks for cooperating with us. As you mentioned, my name is Björn Malin, and I'm working with international student recruitment at Kristianstad University in Sweden. I've been doing that for a couple of years, and besides that, I work with different questions regarding internationalization, small and bigger ones. So shortly, I will introduce Sweden and Kristianstad a bit and answer your questions.
That's great. So yeah, please go for the presentation. So maybe like
I will go for the presentation. I wanted to just give you a heads up about Sweden and university and so on. So this is a very short presentation. If you have more questions, you are welcome to contact me or my friend later on. But welcome to Kristianstad University, Sweden. Perhaps you don't know where Sweden are located in the world. As you can see on this map, in the center, in the very north of Europe, in the dark green, you have Sweden. Sweden is quite a long country, so to say, when it comes to distance from the north to the south. The distance from the very south to the north is about the same as if you go from the south of Sweden to Sicily below Italy. So it's quite the distance from the south to the north. And that means also that it differs perhaps foremost when it comes to weather. A bit snowier, of course, in the north. And where I live and work here in the south, it's not that snowy. But we got snow, I can assure you that.
All right.
So when it comes to Sweden, otherwise, perhaps what is Sweden known for in the world? I think if you ask, partners and friends and international students, when they think about Sweden, there are different things that we are known for and that we really try to work for. And sustainability is one thing. We are ranked as one of the most sustainable countries in the world when it comes to different rankings and so on. Many students, perhaps, growing up and living in foremost, bigger cities around the world, perhaps feel like when it comes to Kristianstad, Sweden, the air is quite fresh. It's lots of green areas and so on, and they really appreciate it. Another thing, perhaps, that about Sweden is that we are a very innovative country. If you look at rankings, the second most innovative country in the world. And that is also something that you will find out when you come to study at Kristianstad University, that you have the possibility to, in most programs, you have the possibility to learn more about, innovation processes and so on. A third thing, if you should mention Sweden, I think is equality. In Sweden, we are equal between the genders when it comes to religion and so on. We try to work with that. You can always find a person who is like, not so nice to you, and it doesn't matter if you come from another country or so on. Bad people unfortunately occurs everywhere. But if I make an international comparison, it's like we're very equal. And if you think about parentally, we have a quite generous social welfare system in Sweden that also makes we all have also as a country make sure that the fathers have the possibility to stay home with the kids when they're small and so on. If you think about perhaps a fourth thing about Sweden, I think many people know that the Nobel Prize is something that is handled and awarded in Sweden every year. And that is something, if you don't know it, that prominent scientists every year get an award from the Swedish king, in this case, as you can see on the picture, for their work when it comes to science. And one fifth thing that you perhaps don't know about Sweden, but that I often talk about and our international students appreciate and learn when it comes to studying in Sweden or living in Sweden, is the word Swedish fika. Fika is a word that means that what we do in Sweden, if in the working place or at home, perhaps, or something like that, about in the afternoon foremost, perhaps 3 o'clock or something like that, we socialize at work. We get together, we have a cup of coffee and perhaps a cinnamon bun. We talk, and that's also some a thing that we do on our free time and so on. And my colleagues here at the International Relations Office, where I work, they organize this kind of activities on a regular basis for international students. So you will for sure learn the word Swedish fika if you study in Sweden and Kristianstad. If I continue my presentation, we talked about Sweden. So this is the very south of Sweden where we are located. You can see here on this picture the city of Kristianstad, not too far from the third biggest city in Sweden, Malmö. And just across a bridge, you have the Danish capital, Copenhagen. And Denmark is the northest country at the European continent when it comes to the continent. One thing that is very convenient when it comes to Kristianstad and that it's very near to Copenhagen is that in Copenhagen, you have Copenhagen International Airport, where you can arrive from most places in the world. And actually, at the airport, they have a train station, and that train will take you directly to the city center of Kristianstad. It takes about 1.5 to 2 hours. It's very convenient, easy to go to. And when you come to Kristianstad, if you have, applied in time and, have all arrangements made and you have contacted us, we will actually pick you up at the train station as a service, as we have for our international students. The city of Kristianstad then. The city was founded back in 1614, actually by a Danish king, because our part of the country, Sweden nowadays, was then a part of Denmark. And the word Kristianstad, actually means the town of Christian IV, that is, the Danish king. A couple of years later, there was a war between Sweden and Denmark, and our part of the country was then a part of Sweden instead, and has been ever since. The city of Kristianstad is a quite small city. It's a beautiful city. We have about 40 something like that thousand people living here, and the municipality has about 85,000 people living here. So it's quite small, but it's cozy. You have near to everything, and so, as I say, the city center is quite cozy with old buildings and new facilities, of course. This is another picture from the city center. It's one of the squares in the city center where you have lots of arrangements during the spring and summer foremost, and decorations during the winter. Then you can see music for free or whatever happens on the city center. Something else that you can say about Kristianstad, the city, is that, as I mentioned, not too big, but there's a lot of things happening when it comes to music, culture, etc. There's lots of green areas in the surroundings, which means that it's perfect for hiking and biking and canoeing and stuff like that. There's lots of water surrounding the city center. And one thing that is quite unique when it comes to the city center of Kristianstad, or the city of Kristianstad, and actually the campus is just 10 minutes away if you walk, is that it's actually located in a by UNESCO designated biosphere reserve. So it's very green, lots of water, and it's, as I say, designated biosphere reserve by UNESCO. Then I mentioned just 10 minutes away from the city center, you have one campus where we have all our faculties, all our facilities, etc. This is a picture from the center of the university. As you can see, lots of beautiful buildings, green areas, and so on, and happy students, where you have the possibility to meet, as we are on one campus, it's very easy to access the facilities, it's easy to access the teachers, the professors, the student union, etc. So it's very convenient from that point of view. When it comes to accommodation, the university, we don't have in Sweden, we don't own our own accommodation or houses, but we do have a good relationship with private landlords, and we help you when it comes to accommodation. Actually, if you apply on time for accommodation, you're guaranteed to get accommodation at Kristianstad University, and that is something that I don't know. Most student cities in Sweden don't have that privilege to be able to offer you that. So that's, I think, a good thing when it comes to our university. One of the, a few of the student dorms are actually just located 5 minutes from the campus, and some are in the city center. So it's also quite often when you have accommodation, it's quite near to the university as well. I mentioned this is, if you looked the other way around, still an old building, but with inside you have this house. You have modern facilities as a modern library. You have socialize, the spaces for socializing. You have the reception. You have kitchen where you can bring your own food and warm it in microwave ovens. You have study places and so on. So it's very convenient. Otherwise, if we talk about the programs then, this is the programs that we offer you at campus. We do have 2 online programs within health science and educational science, but those are online, so perhaps not that interesting for you guys. The programs that we offer on campus are 3 within the Faculty of Computer Science or Natural Sciences. Those are the Bachelor program in Software Development, the Bachelor program in Computer Science and Engineering, specializing in Internet of Things. And then they also have a master program in Computer Science. The other faculty, we have 4 faculties. The other faculty that offers campus-based international programs are the Faculty for Economy, and they offer 2 master programs in business administration, one in international business and marketing, and the other one focusing on auditing and control. And to summarize a bit and give you some more information, yes, I mentioned we are on one campus. It's very convenient. I mentioned that we are located in by UNESCO designated biosphere reserve. It's quite unique, and that means that the surroundings, the green areas, are quite both nice and there's lots of them. Then, as I mentioned, we have 5 international programs and 2 online. One thing that is very important to know, of course, and that you will wonder, is the tuition fees. The cost differs between 110 to 135 Swedish kronas per year, and that's if you're from outside the EU area. When it comes to different programs, the programs within computer science, both the Bachelor and the Master, is the one that costs 135,000 Swedish kronas, and the business administration programs cost 110, and that is per year. And as I mentioned, if you for some reason are a citizen from the EU, it will cost you nothing. You should also be aware that the living cost is
here. Can I add something with you here?
Absolutely.
All right. So, dear viewers, I would like to add few things actually regarding the tuition fees. As like Bjorn, he just mentioned that the tuition fees is like 110 to 135,000 SEK, but compared to other universities, this is what I can tell you. This is one of the cheapest one.
Yeah.
So that is, of course, like Bjorn has added lots of points, like why should you come to Kristianstad University? But apart from that, also this is also another reason why you can think of that. Like these university, they have really cheap, tuition fees, rather than, of course, like compared to other Swedish universities.
Yeah.
Here, like it is actually very cheaper. Whereas if you go to some other Swedish universities, that will be more expensive than this one. So you can think about that. And also another good point is that I would like to add with. I hope Bjorn will not mind if I say something. So like they do have a good number of master's program, which is actually 1 year.
Yeah.
So that is also good in other way, because you can finish your degree very quickly. And basically, if you are looking forward for after finishing your degree, if you are looking forward for a job, basically, employers from their point of view, they don't look for whether you did your master's for 1 year or 2 years. They just want to know you finished your master's. That is most important thing for the employer perspective.
Yeah.
So then you can finish the master's in 1 year. So this is also another advantage for you if you would like to study in Kristianstad University, especially for master's. In 1 year, you can finish it very early, and it will cost you less. That is also, you have to keep these things in your mind, because of course, if you study 2 years, you have to study 2 years, and it will cost you double. So that is also on, right? So these are the things, when you'll be thinking about Kristianstad University, I hope you will consider these issues as well. When you are, you'll be thinking, of course, about Sweden and also about Kristianstad University. Please think about these points as well. Hope it will help you to decide. Please, Bjorn, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. No, right. I can add to that also. It's a good point. When it comes to the 1 year programs, master programs, they are very focused on giving you the knowledge to and prepare you for the working life. Quite often, when it comes to 2 years, it's more like academia and research orientated the second year. And if you don't feel like being a professor, perhaps, or doing research, you want to work. 1 year is a very good option, because, and also, even if you study 1 year, if you have the right basic knowledge, of course, you can apply for the second year at some other university when it comes to 2 year. Yeah, so it doesn't make you like a hopeless situation for you. So it's a good thing, absolutely, to point out the value of studying 1 year. Absolutely, good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And on the other hand, okay, and then also, if they're clever in other way, if they think like, okay, even 1 year is still, after finishing 1 year, if they want like they like to learn something, I would say, okay, then maybe they can go to other universities. Still, they can go another master's for 1 year. So what is happening? They're studying basically 2 years for masters, but end of the day, basically they are getting 2 master's certificate.
Yeah.
Instead of 1.
Yeah.
So even though they will be going for the job market, it will add even more values. They can tell their employer, like, hey, I did 2 masters instead of 1.
Yeah, exactly. So and one thing that, as I mentioned,
like when you'll be a student, you can think about it. Please go ahead.
When we're talking about this subject, one thing is also good about Kristianstad is that, as I mentioned, if you study the 1 year master, it's quite, work orientated.
Yes.
And also one thing that is important to mention and to know is that even if we are perhaps a bit cheaper, it doesn't mean that we have lower quality in our education. It's still a high quality education.
Yes.
And Sweden, if we generalize, has quite good quality in our education system. So you will have
Exactly.
a good high quality education. You have high quality, you will have a cheaper, and it will be quite work orientated.
Yes, I would like to add with Beyond as well. Like, see, most of you, if you know me personally, you know me. I origin from Bangladesh, of course. Like, and I even like most of you know that like I studied my masters from Linnaeus University in Sweden. If you know me personally, the thing is that I mean here it doesn't matter. I mean all of the universities in Sweden mostly is like that. Like they maintain very high quality of the education. It doesn't matter which universities particularly you are studying. I will say in terms of study, all of the universities almost they are providing similar kind of facilities and so on. But of course, like according to the rank, maybe sometimes few of the universities they're ahead and they're not ahead. That is totally different issues. But in terms of quality education, this is what I would like to assure you: all of the universities they're providing very high quality of the education. It doesn't matter in which ranking they're, because ranks depends on some other issues sometimes. And also how old are the universities, that is also another issue when it comes for the ranking. So sometimes few new universities they cannot beat actually the one who is surviving for more than 200 years. So that is another issue. Hope Bjorn will be agree with me, right? Regarding the issues.
Absolutely. And from an international point of view, my experience that we in Sweden, at least not the younger universities, Kristianstad University was founded back in 1977, but we have our roots when it comes to teacher education back to 1835. But when you compare to perhaps a couple of other universities, and especially when we are Kristianstad University from 1977, ranking in Sweden isn't that important because in some countries it's very important, but in Sweden we actually we don't I don't know focus on rankings that much.
That's true.
So everybody, as you mentioned, the quality of the educational system in Sweden is high for everybody.
It is.
So anyway, good points. I just wanted to mention as well that besides the tuition fees, you should also be aware that Sweden is somehow living costs are quite high, and the recommendation is that you have 8,700 Swedish kronas per month to spare for rents and food, etc. The living costs, and you should be aware of that. But the good thing is that you have the possibility to apply for scholarships. The university ourselves, we have our own scholarship, and you can apply for that. It's quite easy. You have to do it within a deadline. Always consider deadlines. It's an important thing. So when it comes to scholarships, usually we are able to give about 50 to 75% reduction of the tuition fee to the students that are given the scholarship. And sometimes I got answered, how many and who gets the scholarship and so on. And I can say that it differs from year to year depending on how much money we have, because that differs from year to year. And also, we have criteria and priorities when it comes to give the scholarships. And those are, if I generalize, that you apply to Sweden on time, that have ranked Kristianstad University on top. Master students are prioritized before bachelor students, and master students that have studied the bachelor programs in Kristianstad are prioritized beforehand, so on. But all that is mentioned on our homepage, Kristianstad, www.hkr.se/en, and then you can click to the different information pages. So think about that. Another thing that students ask about when it comes to studies is like, can I work? Have I a possibility to have some extra work? Yes, a good thing about Sweden is that you have a possibility when you've been given a student visa to work as much as you want to. Sweden is very generous from that point of view. But let's be clear about one thing: it's not, perhaps not the easiest thing to get an extra job. And I say extra job because when you come here, this is what you should do full time. This is full-time studies. So if you have the possibility to study extra, it's more like perhaps get to know Swedish society, to learn Swedish if you feel like that, get to know friends, etc., and to get some extra money. You shouldn't come and feel like that you have to work very much to get by, because that's something that you should have. You should have the money on the bank, so to speak, beforehand. So it's important to know that, because this is full-time studies. It's quite, you need to give that effort. But sometimes, some students perhaps work a bit too much and don't have the possibility to study as much as they should. So I just wanted to point out that. Accommodation, I mentioned that before. If you apply on time when it comes to accommodation in Kristianstad, my colleagues at the International Relations Office will actually help you with that one, because we have the contacts with the private landlords and so on, and we make sure that you have somewhere to stay. But you have to apply for it, and you have to apply for it on time. Otherwise, it's up to you to get by when it comes to that. But we actually have the municipality actually have like a guarantee that they want to offer every people accommodation. So if you don't have accommodation before you come here, it should be solved when you come here. But it could be, quite inconvenient the first days or weeks if you don't have, applied on time and so on. Yes. Another thing that is important when it comes to accommodation in Sweden, Kristianstad, is that actually the accommodation that we offer is quite cheap compared to other student cities in Kristianstad. And so besides that, we guarantee you somewhere to stay, it's quite cheap compared to other cities. So that's also something to think about. And I mentioned work permit. Yes, if you have a resident permit for studies, you can work as much as you want, but don't do it. And also something that people ask me about is, can I, apply for jobs when I have finished my degree? Yes. If you have fulfilled your studies in Sweden and taken enough points, you have the possibility to apply for a job for 1 year after you have finished your studies. So you have a possibility to stay. And I think that was the basics, I guess. So is there something you want to add?
Yeah, so regarding the work permit, as Bjorn said, that of course, during the studies you can work, and the good thing is that, of course, Swedish government is still they're very generous. They didn't say, okay, you will be working for only 20 hours or 30 hours or whatever. I mean, there is no specific hour limit, but of course, as a student, you should have to keep these things in mind, that you are here just for the study mainly. So you cannot work, of course, full-time and part-time study. So you have to keep that things in mind, full-time studies. And I mean, after keeping your studies in balance, if you have more time, then you can go for work. No one is, stopping you. Right, Bjorn?
Yeah, that's the regulation we have in Sweden.
Yeah.
But sometimes, the generosity when it comes to regulation sometimes make it tempting for students to work a little bit too much, and that makes them study a little bit too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So that will be the problem. Be the problem. But don't do that. Just focus on a study, and beside that, of course, you can work. That will not be the problem. And also regarding the work permit issues, as Bjorn mentioned it already, that after finishing your studies, whether 1 year masters or even 2 years masters, or even a bachelor degree, whatever it is, after finishing with degree, as simple as it is, you can apply for 1 year PSW. It is saying post-study work residence permit. So that means after finishing that, you can get this 1 year extra residence permit, and by that time you can either look for job or you can look for your business. So you will have more opportunities how you can stay in Sweden by that time, actually.
Yep.
And also, regarding scholarships, I would like to add few more things. So please don't make it late. You must have to do it on time. So that you can be eligible for the scholarship.
Yeah.
And also beyond, I have forgotten regarding the issues actually. Like, do they have to keep Kristianstad University as their first choice?
Yeah, you have to do that. So
Okay.
yeah, if you look at the basics, what's happening?
No, no, no.
No, so you have to rank Kristianstad on top to
As first choice, as first
yeah,
choice. So
first
this is the
choice at
things. I
final
mean,
time.
you have
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
keep these
exactly.
things in mind, that like, so that like if you keep someone in their second choice, and of course it makes sense, that means you are not interested for them that much, so you
Yeah,
must have to put Kristianstad University as your first choice, and then definitely you will have a good chance to get it. I mean, of course, if you have good profile, if you
yeah.
have IELTS and other things, good grades and so on, then of course, I mean, you'll have a good opportunities. This is why we can tell you that.
I also wanted to add
And
something else when it comes to scholarships. That something that I always recommend as well. So I mentioned the university's own scholarships. We talked a bit about it, but something that you should always do if you have the possibility is to check out the Swedish Institute scholarship.
SI. Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
when it comes to countries, it differs sometimes. Not every countries are eligible for that
Yes,
scholarship. And to
only
be
42
honest,
countries.
yeah, exactly. So, but if you have the possibility, go to actually, we have a link on our page when it comes to scholarships.
No
So,
problem.
but Swedish Institute, if you have the possibility to apply for that, the application process and the application papers and so on are perhaps more. It's a bit more things to fill in, and they're looking at your background, your professional background, your merits, and so on, which we don't when it comes to our
Exactly.
university scholarship. But if you have been given granted the scholarship from Swedish Institute, they will not only cover 100% of the tuition fee, they will also cover your living costs. So
Yes.
if you have the
10,000
possibility,
Swedish krona they will earn each month
yeah, so
until
then
they finish their degrees. That's a lot.
exactly. Yeah, so it's very generous. It demands more for you when it comes to background and the application process. But if you have a possibility, apply for both. So the chances that you will have a reduction or get some economical help is bigger, of course.
Exactly. When we are talking about that, I mean, I would like to add a little bit more actually, because I'm not sure like whether Vion you know or not, but I mean, I'm one of the trained agent by SI as well, personally.
Yeah,
So I got that training in 2017 at
yeah,
Swedish Institute in Stockholm.
yeah,
So that year actually they have trained I think 10 or 12 agents from different parts of the world, and I was one of them.
yeah,
So I had really hand to hand, I mean, experiences about their process and so on.
yeah,
So the thing is that actually mostly they're, I mean, if I make it short, in the difference is that university, when they're providing the scholarship, they're looking for mostly like about the gradings and so on. I mean, who is the best scholar students? They're
yeah,
mostly focusing on the gradings and so on. But for the SI scholar, they're mostly looking for who has more work experiences, who has like more leadership skills.
yeah,
So that's the two way of looking when they're selecting, I mean, candidates for the scholarship. So SI, they are looking for more who have, I mean, really good work experiences and leadership skills. Maybe their, I mean, academic background is little bit lower, but I mean, universities, they're looking for higher grade actually.
yeah,
So that's the differences in short actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And of course, like if you need more informations, I mean, you can contact us. I mean, on the screen, I mean, there is GRK's, I mean, email address, WhatsApp number, so you are always feel free to contact with us, I mean, if you need more help regarding these
yeah,
scholarships and so on.
yeah,
So dear audiences, today we are talking about like study in Sweden, and of course we do have a special guest from Kristianstad University, Björn Malin, with us. So feel free to ask your questions, whatever you do have, please. So sooner we'll give you all of your answers actually. So go ahead,
yeah.
please, Björn.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that perhaps if we have some questions, can meanwhile, I just wanted to recommend you
Yeah,
because
so there is actually two questions, we got it already. One for here we got one
yeah, yeah, I can see it in
applications
Swedish
open
here.
from which date in Sweden. So maybe you can answer that questions
Yeah, of
actually, like
course. The application process when it comes to apply to Sweden has opened in mid-October, and it closes. The deadline is the 16th of January. And that's important to know, because your chances
Yes.
to get admitted to have given scholarships, etc., are bigger if you apply on time. So the 16th of January is deadline for apply to Sweden. And I just wanted to mention, if you don't know it, that when you apply to Sweden, you don't apply directly to the university. You apply to a general page for all Swedish universities, which is called universityadmissions.se. So, but my friends at JRK will give you that link later on. So that way you apply,
Yes.
and on that page as well, which is a good thing to know, are information not only about the programs for everybody. Every university does the deadlines, the time schedule. There are basic information when it comes to everything that is useful to know about studying in Sweden. So I really want to recommend universityadmissions.se if you want the basic, and also
Exactly.
you can find country specific information regarding if you're interested in bachelor studies or master studies, so it's very useful.
Exactly.
So you can apply from now, from today.
Yes.
But
The sooner,
16th of January the
the
latest.
sooner. Yes, the sooner you will apply, you will have a very good chances. I mean, the thing is that, of course, sometimes what happens if you apply lately and maybe some of your documents are missing,
Yeah.
and then, I mean, you have to sorted it out, and then it takes more time, and then by that time application time is over, so then your application will be considered as late
Yeah.
applications. And this is the reason we always ask the students, please make the application as soon as possible, so that even for an example, some of the documents maybe you have uploaded or you have sent to the university. I mean, depends, like for few of the new countries, students need to send the documents to Sweden directly, and for few countries you can just upload it. So whatever you do, sometimes there are some missing and it might happen. So if you miss that kind of documents, university admission always asks you to do it again. But the thing is, if you don't have enough time in your hand, then your application will be considered as late application, and as consequence you will get the admission result lately, you will apply for residence permit lately, and you might get the residence permit confirmation lately, you will join the universities lately, so everything might go later as a
Yeah.
consequence. So please do it as soon as possible.
And the worst thing that can happen, so if delay everything, is that when you actually get the visa late on, it could be too late, because it's the migration board here in Sweden, they are their own authority. We have nothing to do with them, and we can't affect them at all. But if you apply late and you have to have bad luck and so on, perhaps you will get your residence permit to study so late that the program has actually started and it's too late for you to arrive. So there's no need to wait. Apply on time.
Yes, exactly. All right then. So there is another questions here. I think Fatima, Lisa, we have answered your questions, and also like if you need more information, feel free to ask us, contact with JRK, and then we will assist you for further process. And we do have another questions from Fatima Tanifa, that what are the general queries or requirements to be eligible for the scholarship? So if you could.
I think we're talking about the university's own scholarship then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
to make it easy. So the general is that, first of all, that you are admitted to a program. That's the first thing, and that you have now that you have applied on time, that you have prioritized Kristianstad University as your first choice. And then you have the difference between masters before bachelor students, and if we have like the same bachelor students that have already studied in Kristianstad are prioritized before if they apply for a master. That's if I should say something very easy. Then we look at as you mentioned before, the merits. So perhaps if you have two students, the one with a better merit are prioritized before someone perhaps with not as good educational background. So it differs. But I can say that actually quite a lot of the students that are foremost master students, I should say that foremost, but it happens that bachelor students as well get scholarships. But for most master students, quite a lot of the students that apply and fulfills the requirements that we have actually do get the reduction of the tuition fee. It happens quite a lot. So you should really try to fill it in. It's quite easy, to be honest. The process, it's very easy. So it's not like the scholarship from the Swedish Institute, the SI, where you have to have a different background, but you also have to write some kind of letter and so on. Because what we look at the that you have fulfilled requirements and your merits and so on. Then it's prioritized between according to the ranking model that I've mentioned. So apply. I can't say that you will be given it to you, but the chances are quite good, to be honest.
Exactly. So if you have really good grades and so on, so please apply, and then of course you will have a really good chances to get the scholarship. And if you get the university scholarship, at least it will deduct your tuition fees from 50 to 70%. That's a lot, I would say.
And actually sometimes it has happened that we have reduced the fee for 100%. It has happened.
Okay.
So I can just mention that if from a general point of view, if we look at what we do from year to year, it covers 50 to 75%. But we have a board for the scholarship, and from every year they look at how much money do we have this year, how many have applied, and then they think it could be also like this year we want to perhaps give some more money to the computer science programs on the natural sciences department, or next year we have lots of applicants from the business administration. So it could be like this year we give a bit more to those students and so on. And it could also be like, we only have a few women who has applied this year, so we want to give them a push from a gender perspective. It could happen. It could be other things that they decide from year to year. But the ranking or the prioritization is like that I mentioned is like stated in the document. But otherwise, as I mentioned, apply. The chances are quite good to get something.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good. So do you have any other slide actually to show to them?
No, I had to shorten my due to the restrictions in the platform.
No,
so I
understand.
No,
it's okay, no problem. So these are really important things. Of course, but how about one thing I would really like to know, how IELTS affect it? Like if someone, let's say two of the students, one doesn't need IELTS and another one need IELTS. Exemption I'm talking about, because for some of the countries students get the exemption and some of the countries students do not get the exemption. So let's say someone else has been exempted and someone else has not been exempted, and therefore he or she has really good IELTS score, and on the other hand both of their grading is almost equivalent. So who will get the scholarship in that case? Just assumption.
I can't say because it's up to the board of scholarship. It's not.
No, of course I do understand, but I'm saying like one has good IELTS point as well. So is there any chance because they do have IELTS, so they might have more opportunities to get the scholarship? That is my question to you.
I think it would be wrong of me to say something that could be misinterpreted as interpreted as something that it's up to the board to decide. So I don't dare to say anything about it, because when it comes to requirement, if we look at the requirements to enter the program, you should fulfill the basic requirements, of course, and then it doesn't matter if you're very good in one test and you have fulfilled requirements for English in another way. Then you have passed the limit, so to speak. But when it comes to the scholarships, I don't want to perhaps say something that could be misinterpreted, because I'm not part of the board for scholarships.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
Perhaps no because some students perhaps take that as a promise, and I don't want to do that.
No. Of course, we are not promising here anything. We're just discussing. No, it's not like we are here to just. See, even like sometimes, even it might happen. For an example, but like let's say you meet all of the requirements, but still even you might not get the admission, because let's say we have 50 seats and 200 students are applying for 50 seats. So then of course university cannot take 200 students. That is also matter.
Yeah.
So though they're fulfilling all of the requirements, basic requirements. So
But
of course, students will have to understand that. Yes, please.
But I can say that when it comes to our programs, we try to, if you fulfill requirements, and apply on time, the chances that you actually get admitted are very, very good.
No, exactly. I know that.
So it's not like, so one can say that we often, and this is from a general point of view, we quite often offers more seats than we actually, because we know that some won't get the residence permit, some won't have the money, some will have personal issues making sure that they don't have the possibility to come and so on. So when it comes to the places in the classroom, when it comes to registration day, we try to make sure that we have perhaps a few more students admitted than because we know that things happens on the way. So if you apply, you fulfill the requirements, and you really want to come and so on, the chances are very, very good to have a seat in the classroom.
No, that is true. That is true. No, that's really good news. So yeah, so please apply to Kristianstad University then, please.
Yeah, do that. I just wanted to say that if I may, just to summarize a bit when it comes to why you should study in Kristianstad. I tried to. We have mentioned some parts. We can be quite. The educational system in Sweden is good no matter where you go. You can also be quite sure that when it comes to Sweden as a student or study destination, it's from an international point of view, it's a very green and sustainable country, safe from an international point of view, very easy to get by because everybody between the age of 4 or 5 years old and to very old people speaks English. So it's very convenient to get by in society, not only on campus, on the classroom. It's very easy if you want to know the direction somewhere, or you want to shop something, whatever. Everybody knows the language, so it's quite convenient. It could be perhaps harder to learn Swedish because we are very eager to speak English in Sweden, so we don't want to speak Swedish. Yeah, so that's a lot of things.
This is the reason. This is the reason. Even after staying here for 7 years, still I cannot speak in Swedish. No, it's all because of you people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So
because you're so good in English. That's why.
Yeah, and we want to do that. So that's very convenient. And also when it comes to Kristianstad as a student study destination, I mentioned, of course, we have very high quality of the programs. It doesn't matter what program you choose. They're very high quality. But as I mentioned, accommodation could be hard to get in some other cities or student cities. Kristianstad is very easy if you apply on time. Also, the accommodation is cheaper. As you mentioned, the programs are perhaps quite cheap compared to other programs. So if you think about the economy, and you should always think about the economy, this is a good choice besides the very good programs we have. Also, I think I should mention also that, as we mentioned, the 1-year program, when it comes to 1-year master program, is quite work focused. And also when it comes to the connection that the programs have with working life, it's quite good. You will, during this year, have contact with different kinds of companies and so on, to perhaps make group works, other kinds of papers, whatever you have within that program. So you will have a close connection to working life during that period. That will give you a network, that will give you experience, that will also make you perhaps a better chance to get a job if you want to after the studies, and perhaps during the studies, I don't know. So it will not be like you're just at the campus or at the classroom. It's something that we have a close connection in most parts of the education programs with the working life. And something that international students appreciate when they study in Sweden and in Kristianstad is that it's very easy to talk to and get access to the teachers, because we have a non-hierarchical system in Sweden. where we want you, the teachers want you to address them, to ask questions, and want you to, think for yourself, think outside the box, and so on. And that is quite useful when it comes, perhaps if you want to go back to your country, perhaps you will have a different kind of thinking that is very useful for employers everywhere. So there's lots of good things about our university to think about and to consider when you choose your study destination.
No, exactly.
And one thing I also forgot, perhaps, that I mentioned that we are a small city. We have lots of green areas, and you can feel like, got the impression that, well, it sounds nice, but I want to, have a big city, meet people, have, stuff happening. And the good thing is, as I mentioned, it's very, very easy to go to both Malmö, the third city in the world, where it's a very international city.
Yes,
there are
it is
over 200 countries represented, living in Malmö, and just over the bridge to Denmark, you have, Copenhagen, which is an even bigger international city. So, and consider that I just wanted to mention that if you consider that you're used to a big city somewhere in the world, because how long would it take you to go from the suburb into the city center? It will take quite some time, and this is the same thing. You can live in a small, cheaper, cozy city in Kristianstad with lots of green areas, but it's very easy to go to, the bigger cities in Malmö and in Copenhagen. So you will have everything you study here.
Exactly. And also, I would like to add about Malmö, that when we are talking about Kristianstad, the thing is, Malmö is the third largest city in Sweden. So it is third largest city. So I mean, that is really nice. Hope you understand that. And as Björn said, that you can go to even Copenhagen, it is very nearby. So that is also important thing. And also some other ways, see, everything has pros and cons. So on the other hand, actually, I will say, small cities, they're quite cheaper. I mean, in terms of costing, they're quite cheaper than the bigger cities. Because bigger cities, actually, they're always expensive. I think Björn, you will be agree with me, right?
Absolutely. And you can also, they're also, if you think about it, if you live in the city center of Kristianstad, or even if you live, just close to the campus, it's you don't have to spend neither time or money to get to the university. You can, take the bike or walk, or if you feel like to the university.
This is what we do, most of us, in Sweden, actually.
Yeah. So I would recommend you and welcome you if you have the possibility to come to Kristianstad University. We are a smaller university, but everything is very handy, convenient, cheap if you compare, but still you will get a great education, and that is the most important.
Exactly. So that is really, really important. So dear audience, still maybe we'll take one or two more questions before. I think we had actually really nice conversations with Björn. So therefore, I mean, still, if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. I mean, still, if you want to know anything what maybe we didn't discuss yet, still, if you want to know anything, just ask us. We'll be here just for 1 or 2 more minutes, and we're almost end of our session today here. So please feel free to ask your questions, please, if you have any more questions left in your mind. So I think anyway, beyond by this time, I would like to say it was really good discussions. I think we covered all of the things what we wanted to say to our potential students, and hopefully they will join us actually in Kristianstad University for September 2023 intake. This is what I'm pretty much sure.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that my friends here at JRK International Educational Consultants, Mr. Curry and so on, are experienced when it comes to studies in Sweden. We have a long partnership. He knows all the pros and cons, even in Kristianstad. I can't mention them. That's not my job. I just want to mention the pros, of course. But if you have any questions when it comes to studies in Sweden, studies in Kristianstad, the practical, work you have to do, admission, the application process, etc., ask him, or he will, if he for some reason don't know the answer when it perhaps comes to details within programs or how we do things in Kristianstad, he will redirect your questions to me, and I will make sure to answer.
Exactly. Exactly. So whatever you questions you do have, please feel free to drop us like on the screen. You do have our contact details, phone number, email address. Feel free to send us your queries. We'll try to respond to you. And then like still as he said, like if we are not sure some of the issues, of course we'll cross check with the universities, and as soon as universities reply us, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And also I would like to add few more things. As I studied in Sweden for my master's actually from Linnaeus University though, so we do have a really good experiences actually even as international students. How was it? And you know, from every aspects. So please feel free to ask your questions to GRK International Education Consultants. We are here to help you all. Okay, so then based on our experiences we will give you best guidance, and then you can decide actually like what will you do and so on. And of course we are welcoming all of the students to consider Kristianstad University based on the all of the facts we discussed in last half an hour or more. So hope you will consider Kristianstad University for your higher studies in Sweden actually. And
Yeah.
we are looking forward to see you all in Kristianstad.
We do. Welcome.
So anyway, I think like we discussed a lot, and therefore we are not getting any more questions because I think it's a really good discussions as we discussed all of the issues. That is the fact. So
Yeah.
anyway, I would like to thank you, Vion, for I know you are very busy, but still from your busy schedules, you made it happen today in this Friday. I know. So it was my pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much one more
Thank you.
time, and I wish you have a very nice weekend.
And the same
And
to
take
you and
care.
to everybody who's been watching this.
So yeah, if you have any final comments for the audience, please.
No,
Final comments.
I just wanted to say that it's easy for me, or if you listen to different university, of course you will hear them talk about very positive about the university. That's what we do, of course. But I've been living in this city for all my life and so on. It's a small but nice city. You have all the facilities that you need to have a good life. Will have a great campus, great teachers, great education. But as I also want to mention, most of you guys are perhaps a bit younger than I am nowadays, and perhaps want to have something more happening and just have something happening. And I just wanted to mention that, as we said before, you can have there's parties, the student unions, the international students, and my colleagues at the International Relations Office will offer you different kinds of activities on different, on a regular basis when it comes to, happenings and fake, as I mentioned, and there are trips to Stockholm and sometimes to the northern Sweden. There will be things happening all the time. But also, if you want to experience something more, it's very easy to go to bigger cities. Me, myself, I was, staying in Copenhagen I had a vacation for 2 days. I was there with my family, stayed for 2 years in Copenhagen, took the train for 1.5 hours, stayed over a hotel, walked around in this great city. So it's very nearby to, an international big city as well. So you will have the pros of a smaller city when it comes to both surroundings, closeness, a bit cheaper living compared to a bigger city, but you will have the possibility to experience everything that happens in the big city as well. So you will have a great mix, and you won't get that everywhere in Sweden. I'm assuring you that. I think that's something.
Exactly.
And also when it comes to the experience that you have been living in Sweden, studying in Sweden, been working with this for so many years, how it is in Sweden. You know everything about the application process, the pros and cons, the migration process, living in Sweden, the Swedes, how we are, and so on. So I am sure you can advise them very, very good.
Yeah, I'm happy. That's why I'm here. And then you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So even like when I was a student, of course, that time the GRK, GRK's as existing was not there. You know what I mean? Because I have created GRK. But the thing is that, of course, even as a student, I loved Sweden. and then I have chosen Sweden for my higher studies. That time actually I was in UK for my bachelor degrees, and after finishing, as soon as I finished my bachelor degrees, actually I came to Sweden for my masters. So still I believe it was one of the best decision I have taken in my life. I mean, to come to Sweden for my masters. I finished my masters. I mean, I started the company and working quite successfully for last 7 years right now. So I mean, what else do you want from the life? You know what I mean? So I'm quite happy for that. So all right. So for final, I think you said that already to our audiences. So finally, I would like to say everyone, to our audience, all audience, thank you so much for watching the session today, and thanks to Bjorn to joining us today. And I wish you all have a nice weekend. Take care. And for the audiences, if you have any more queries, please, on the screen we do have our contact details. Feel free to contact us, and then we'll take care of the matter. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.